Well, I have not had the pleasure of speaking with Chris Kopff for the entire month of June, so we're going to end up this final week in June with my good friend and a fellow I admire a great deal, as you may have picked up over the years, Dr. E. Christian Kopff, University of Colorado in Boulder. Stay tuned.
Next on News Talk, AM 1480 WLEA, the Newsmaker Show with Kevin Doran.
Well, Chris, I have been out of action since May 30th, either in the hospital or home recuperating. Thank God it's all getting better, but I've watched more television than a man should have to do.
They wanted to get you out of bed and back up again. So.
Oh, but it could bring on depression, believe me. But
Believe it.
here are some things I gleaned or didn't glean from television. All right, here are some of the things that I have come away confused about. All right?
Yes.
I want to run them by you because you're smarter than the average dude. All right?
Okay.
Who in the world are the Kardashians?
Well, they are a number of young women of purported Armenian descent who have made themselves into personalities. They don't really have any talent. They don't sing or dance or anything, but they do these shows in which they talk about their lives, and they do shows in which the cameras follow them in the car and as they go around and do things. And so they are there used to be people like this back in the 40s and 50s. They didn't do anything, but they showed up on talk shows and they showed up on What's My Line and things like that.
But who are they? I mean, I couldn't do that, wouldn't want to. You might be able to pull it off.
No,
but they must have done something other than...
By the great Barbara Walters, whose comment was, how do you do it? She had to work hard. She had to interview people. She had to, do all this hard work to get where she... Now, at the end of her life, she was there running these shows that were not that hard, but she worked very hard to get where she was. And here are these women who are very wealthy, are paid money to be on television, are on the cover of magazines, right? And they have no special talent that sets them apart from anybody else.
Well, why would they want to do that? Don't they want to be just normal people, live a normal life? Huh?
I think they feel that nobody wants to be normal and that they are lucky enough or bright enough to have found a way to be wealthy and successful without working.
Was it their father that was driving O.J. around Los Angeles?
Well, you may be right about that, but that's more detail than I...
All right, okay. I just remember that name Kardashian from...
Well,
it's
not a common Armenian. It's not a common name because Armenian names aren't common. But
no, but it is an Armenian name. I've known enough Armenians to know.
Yeah, no, it's among Armenians. It's not at all unusual.
Huh. Wonder how they feel about it. The other ordinary, everyday, hardworking, and they usually are Armenians.
Well, every once in a while, David Letterman will invite them on to make fun of them because they have no talent. And I thought, he has a lot of gall, doesn't he? I mean,
yeah.
Has anyone before the Kardashians ever gotten further with no talent than David Letterman? He makes fun of the Kardashian sisters.
I have had, over the years, the pleasure of meeting a lot of big shots, celebrities, politicians.
Right. Sure.
Big deal. All right, so I always have wanted to meet Mr. Palin. Mr. Palin, the husband of Sarah.
The husband. Yeah.
And I wanted to take him aside and say, look, I'm not going to quote you. I just want to know one thing. Letterman.
Hey, not only is he talentless, but he's tasteless.
Oh, I know. What he said about Palin's, about Palin and then about his daughter.
Yeah, it was just
terrible, disgusting, sick. Yeah. All right.
By the way, let me tell you this from off the internet, that in 2010, Kim Kardashian, one of the most famous of the sisters, was named the highest-paid reality television personality.
For what?
She's number one from the point of view of reality television, which is great because there's no writing involved. There's no acting. You just show up and live your life. And she was paid $6 million in 2010 for doing that.
Well, speaking of getting a lot of money for doing nothing, $600,000 going to, brace yourself, America, the mainstream media has not told you this, Chelsea Clinton, $600,000 paid by NBC, so that she will from time to time do a news report. And there is, they have a very good NBC guy they send out to any Arab states because he's fluent in Arabic.
Yeah.
Can't think of the guy's name. Richard Engel.
Richard Engel, right.
When I know he's going to be on, I always watch NBC. He's very, very good. And I doubt if he gets $600,000 for putting himself out there in the middle of the gunfire. But NBC is giving Chelsea $600,000 a year to do an occasional report. Does that kind of stink? What?
Well, the sort of comic relief, but you might not find it very comic, is that Mommy goes around. She just told The Guardian recently that they do have more money than most people, but they work harder.
Oh yeah, I noticed that.
They work harder.
Yeah.
Well, she flies in a fancy jet to someplace. She gives an hour talk and answers questions for an hour. Then she flies back in a fancy jet. You're going, how can anyone think that's working hard?
All right, now, I'm convinced that the next Democratic presidential candidate will be that funny lady from Massachusetts. I don't think Hillary's going to be the nominee. What's the lady from Massachusetts, the new senator?
Yes, Elizabeth Warren.
Elizabeth, right. Betty Warren, right.
Well, known as Pocahontas to her friends, of course.
Right. Yeah, she claimed to be Indian, got the job that way. But I have a feeling she might even win because I know otherwise bright people who say, now we've got to have a woman. Why? Why do we have to have a woman?
If you ever coached a Little League team, everybody has to bat. Mm-hmm. You have to make sure everyone gets a chance at bat. You can set up the legs of your best players play more, but everyone has to have a chance to bat. And the presidency has now achieved this status. It's like Little League, where it's a woman's turn. And how Hillary got first place in this, I have no idea. A lot of people are, because she's really, I might put her a tad ahead of the Kardashians, but she's basically the wife of a very successful and influential politician.
Yeah, a very clever politician. That's right.
He's really good, and he is personally likable. Every time you meet someone who's met Bill Clinton, they just say, "I walked in hating the guy, and I walked out just thinking, he's not that bad, and he seems to agree with me."
Yeah, yeah. Whatever I say,
everybody. Right. It's just very impressive.
No, I guess he is a real charmer, and she is not, incidentally, a charmer in person.
She is almost the platonic idea of someone who is not a charmer.
No, she's not. Okay, I'm talking with Chris Kopff. We're not trying to knock Democrats, friends. Believe me, I'm tired of both parties, and so is Chris. And when we get back, I have other things I've noticed on television that I wish I hadn't. And I'm not a big television watcher. I watch the news, and if the Mets are playing, I watch the Mets. If all else is lost, I read. But because of my recent setback, it wasn't life-threatening, I guess, but I was forced to watch television. Well, never mind. But I was forced to watch television. I couldn't even read for a while. So there I was, seeing things that I have made the point of not seeing all my adult life, or the parts of it in which these people played. So when we get back, I want to ask Chris, why is there a Dr. Phil? We'll be back in just a moment. Why is there a Dr. Phil? And do you really believe that there are... I only watched one episode. Do you really believe there are people who come on national television and pour out their most inner hatreds for their relatives on national TV? Do you really believe that?
If I didn't believe it, I would have to imply that you were not telling the truth. But yes, this country has it's not a large group in percentages, but it's a large number in absolute terms of people who want to humiliate themselves, humiliate their families, humiliate their spouses by spilling the beans on things that should not be told to other people. And Dr. Phil was the discovery of Ms. Winfrey, the
Oprah?
Yes, Oprah. Oprah discovered him.
Oh.
Of course, her show was largely, weeping and being emotional.
Yeah, I've never watched Oprah, so I can't judge that. All right, go ahead.
Well, yeah, half an hour was, enough. And she was enormously popular, as you remember. She dominated afternoon television, and she discovered Dr. Phil, who was sort of the, I think it's a doctor of medicine, but, the doctored, middle-aged white male version of Oprah. And he said he really, she did a lot of things. People would perform, there'd be interviews, she'd recommend a book, whereas he just concentrates on the really hardcore people mentioning these miserable, lives they have and blaming it all on other people. And then he, as a professional, tells them his professional advice.
Well, I thought he was a psychologist. Maybe he's a psychiatrist. I don't know. It doesn't matter. And I could see that, in private practice, the guy may have been important and done some important things. But my question for you, my friend Bob Lee, my coworker here, he says, I think they pay those people to get on there and say that. What do you think?
Well, I think that would be better if it would show that people would do anything for money, even humiliate their friends and families. But I fear that that's not true. I think that there are a subset of Americans who would do anything to be on television.
Yeah.
And there is some of them are like your beloved Senator Schumer, who one joke Bob Dole ever told was the most dangerous place to be in Washington, D.C. was between Chuck Schumer and a TV camera.
Still true. Yeah.
And it's still true. You can be run over. That may have been what happened to you. You may have walked in front of Schumer on his way to charge into a TV camera. And there are many Schumers out there. They do not have the distinction and wit and graciousness and likability of Senator Schumer, but they also want to be on television no matter what they have to do, even if it means humiliating their family and friends.
I'm going to back up. Did you say Schumer had wit, humility, and humor?
No,
are we talking about the same Chuck Schumer?
Didn't have as much as he has.
Oh.
That's a little bit different.
Yeah. Oh, listen, I can't wait for the Republicans to win so that Schumer becomes the Democratic spokesman. But Harry Reid, now we can't psychoanalyze Harry Reid here. I mean, what do we know, right?
No.
But he is kind of a nasty guy, isn't he?
Yes, and he's getting nastier. He just sits there reeling off these hateful statements all the time.
If I were the Koch brothers, and I don't even know who those guys are, if I were the Koch brothers, I'd buy them. That's why, I would buy Harry Reid to shut him up. Yeah. Okay, now let's talk about something that most people don't know. Well, I got to take it back. I said it yesterday. Most people don't know about the IRS scandal. Apparently they do. I don't know how. The big networks, except for CBS, they've given it a little bit. But the big networks are totally ignoring one of the greatest scandals ever to hit this country, using the IRS to nail your political enemies. All right. Remember, Nixon got impeached partly. Did he get impeached? Yeah, I guess he did get impeached. He just never went to trial.
He never went to trial.
Right. Partly on the fact that he tried to do that. Yeah. And he asked the IRS, go get Chris Kopff, and they said, no, we're not going to do it. Well, so somebody turned him in. But I have been watching this guy whose name is difficult, Costigan. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I keep saying it turns out like a nasty word or something.
Yeah, sounds like a swear word in Armenian.
Right? Yeah. I didn't want to say it. I mean, this is a family show here.
It sounds like a Polish cuss word, right? Anyway, Costigan I learned yesterday on the award-winning Newsmaker show, I say that kiddingly, that he has given $100,000 last year or the year before to Democrats.
Yes.
He's a political appointee, and one of the Democrats he gave a lot of money to was the Washington delegate, Eleanor something or other Holmes. You know, she's not supposed to be there, really. You know, D.C. has no representative in Congress.
They can't vote. That's right. They can't vote.
They can't vote. So, anyway, there she is, and she's telling everyone what a wonderful, wonderful guy. Well, yeah, if the guy gave me $50,000, I think he's pretty wonderful too. You know, anybody out there wants to give me even $10,000, I'll make you look good on the radio. I really will. So it turns out this guy is not as innocent as he seems. And the second thing I want to say is I would never, ever want to go up against Trey Gowdy. Would you?
No, absolutely. He's articulate, and he comes across really well. He you know, some of these people come across just grouchy and angry. He has a sense of humor. He's very, and he's a good lawyer as far as I can tell.
A good what?
Good lawyer. I mean, he knows how to ask a tough question.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He nailed him up against the wall the other night. Well, we've gone over all this, and there we are. So we know that Dr. Phil probably was, I said this, probably pretty good in private practice, but what's he doing on television? The Kardashians, I now know why they keep getting mentioned, and I keep seeing their pictures in the New York Post or something. Because I've always wondered, who are these people?
Right, exactly.
And why are they? My brother used to have, God rest his soul, an expression that I always thought was wonderful. So-and-so's an unnecessary person. That's a terrible thing to say, but it does say it, doesn't it? He's an unnecessary person.
They have no real place. Why do they exist? It's a real test for the theory of evolution. That, we should have these things that have no purpose.
Well, that's it, Chris. We'll have you back, God willing, next week.
Terrific. Great to talk to you. It's great to have you back.
All right, stay on the line just a minute. I know you got to catch a plane here shortly, but thank you very much. All right, now stay tuned for more news and information.